Training Day with Ray would like to thank our lead sponsor, the Law Office of Richard M. Kenny, New York City's battle-tested trial lawyers, the Law Offices of Richard M. Kenny. I've been in the fight game for over 30 years. From small-time arenas to the biggest show in the world, I've trained some of the best MMA fighters in the sport today. And the one thing I've learned is when you enter the octagon, you can't hide who you are. My name is Ray Longo, and this is my show. Hey, get my spot ready. I'm here with Dylan Avila, and this, guys, is going to be one crazy story. I'm going to let him explain it when we start off. You're one badass, but I don't want to ruin the story because I think you'll do it better to tell, but Dylan's a stand-up comic, and what you're about to hear is really kind of annoying to me, and it's, you know, I feel like grabbing the guy and killing him, but go ahead, start it off, man.
What's up, Ray? So I'm a stand-up comic. I'm from Seattle, Washington, and I was running an open mic with a buddy of mine down in Renton. It's just south of Seattle, and we have a very popular open mic there every Monday night. And there was this new wannabe comic that had come down and had a really bad act. He said he was Jesus Christ. He brought this big double-ended dildo, started waving it at everybody, and I banned him from the show. And the next week he came back, he snuck in, was hiding behind this little wall. And just as I was about to introduce, we were 4 comics into the night. I was about to introduce the next guy. And he came around my right side, and he had a metal baseball bat. And the first hit got me in the ear here, in the jaw, split my ear just in half. I had 4 stitches separately all through my ear, all the way into my ear canal. And then the second hit, I don't know if you can see it because my hair is kind of long right now, but he got me right here, and that was the one that it knocked me down, but it didn't knock me out. And I was laying there on stage, got hit twice in the head with a metal baseball bat. I had brain surgery on Tuesday morning, had 2 titanium plates, 20 staples in there. And I was home by Thursday and back on stage 9 days after that. And,
I mean, totally incredible. I mean, who would have thought comedy could be such a hazardous industry? I mean,
it can be kind of rough sometimes. I've had friends who've been who've gotten into fights as they've gotten off stage with audience members. Usually, somebody heckling them, and they don't like how the comic made fun of them. So when they get off stage, they get confronted. I've known people who have had things thrown at them.
Right.
But when it happened, I had comics reach out to me from all over the world, and no one's ever seen anything like this. No one's come that close to dying on stage. I mean, we've all bombed.
Yeah.
We've never, no one's never really came that close. I mean, literally like centimeters away.
Yeah, that's the crazy thing to me, is that it wasn't like he confronted you and he was unhappy. I mean, he snuck up on you.
Yeah, no, he thought about it.
I mean, it was premeditated, and it was like stabbing a guy in the back. I mean, obviously, it speaks volumes to what we're dealing with a guy like that. But I mean, and I'm assuming that when you first met this guy, you knew something was off. Right.
Oh yeah, no. As soon as he wrote down Jesus Christ on the sign-up list, I was like, "Oh, Jesus Christ!" Just red flags everywhere. And his act was so bad that the crowd was just terrified. They were just like in shock because they're just like, "Wow, what did I just watch?" And so when he came back, I was like, "Man, I don't want to see that again." And so he didn't like that. And luckily, he was dumb enough to do it while I was on stage. I wasn't walking back to my car. He did it in front of about 50 people who at least kind of like me. I have some of my best friends, brothers and sisters in there. So they stepped in and stomped the shit out of him.
Got a little street.
I don't know if I can cuss on here.
Nah, you could cuss all you want. You got a little street justice.
Yeah,
nice.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, they stomped the shit out of him.
Which is the best kind of justice there is, I think.
Right. Yeah, and
in this situation,
some friends who wish they would have done more damage to him, but he had to go to the Harborview Medical Center for trauma as well. And
wow.
And yeah, luckily I am a badass, so I didn't get knocked out. I didn't lose consciousness. I remember everything about it. I remember I was cracking jokes even there on stage. I was talking shit to the cop who was...
Oh wow, good for you, man. And was there anything that's come up with this guy? Any incidents he had prior to what he did with you? Was he because you see a guy kills 20 people, and they got the neighbor. Oh, he was such a nice guy, but I'm assuming we're not hearing this about this guy. I don't know why I'm feeling that, but I'm feeling that this guy was a known lunatic.
Yeah, he had felony for making threats to the president. He had assault charge on a girlfriend. So he had actually just gotten out of jail like 2 weeks prior for assault on his girlfriend.
So I guess you have a really good screening process down at the club for guys that want the open. I mean, how do you let the guy in?
Well, I've never banned anybody from a show. It's stand-up comedy. I believe in free speech. I allow anybody up there, to express yourself, do what you want. But there is a point, you can't make threats to the crowd. I'll allow you to say pretty much anything, but we didn't need to see it was a huge dildo, man. The thing was like a double-ended thing. He was waving it at people. And
so,
it was
but you're saying if it was a normal-sized dildo, it wouldn't have been that bad. The fact that it was
it wasn't even the first dildo we had on stage. We had the year before we had it was Mardi Gras, and a buddy of mine brought a big it was a big pink penis piñata, and we had a big pink dildo, and I smashed it on stage, and candy flew everywhere. It was hilarious. We had a good time with it.
That sounds like a party.
Right, it was a party.
I got to get down to Seattle.
And so, yeah, we have a good time, man. We do have fun out here. We have a really good comedy scene. A lot of strong comics come out of Seattle, and so it was just something.
So the fact that he had a big dildo wasn't anything that was a red flag.
No, it was a combination of the, he literally said he was Jesus Christ, and then he came back in 2004, and so it was just a really bad impersonation. And
can we do we have any research, guys? Do we see if there was any double-sided dildos in the Bible before we get going with this? This is crazy. Now, where the hell did this interview go? Wait, while we're talking, a couple of things. The number 12, what's the significance of that behind you? I'm looking at it.
That's I'm a diehard Seahawks fan.
Okay, cool.
So that's the 12th man. We've been season ticket holders for 12 years actually now.
Nice.
They gave us that about 10 years ago.
Oh, wow, cool.
And, I got my Seahawks jersey. This is my number 5 jersey. 5's my lucky number.
All right.
And
cool.
My wife and I were married on November 5th. We have 3 kids. We have a total of family of 5. And he actually tried to kill me on January 5th. So
wow. That's getting scary now.
Yeah, that night actually, when I pulled up that night, I pulled up, and Renton is kind of a tough neighborhood. That's where I grew up, was South Seattle in the Renton area. And when I pulled up to the club that night, or the bar, there was already 2 cop cars outside with lights flashing because a car had crashed into another car. And I took a picture of it, and I posted it on Facebook and said, I can already tell tonight's going to be a fun one. Is it a full moon or something? And it was a full moon. And then an hour and a half later, somebody tried to kill me.
Wow. That was always scary as a kid.
Yeah, a little bit of a premonition there.
Yeah, full moon meant the lunatics were running wild for whatever reason. And did any well-known comics reach out to you?
A bunch, man. It was pretty crazy. Like my street cred did go through the roof when it happened. It just
you got street cred with me. I'll tell you, I don't want to take a hit to the head with a bat. And I've been punched in the head many times, but a bat is up in the ante.
Yeah, it was definitely sped up the process, but comics all over the world, man, from Australia to Germany. People like Amy Schumer reached out to me.
Nice.
People were doing benefit shows for me all over, and I got to meet Tommy Chong, which was really cool.
Wow.
And
one of my favorites growing up, Cheech and Chong. We used to listen to those albums in the 70s, man. They were hysterical. Really, really
fun. That was my parents' generation, and they, I grew up watching it through them, and I was always a huge fan, and a buddy of mine had an opportunity to take me to meet him at this. It was this weed conference in Seattle, and so we talked, and I got to tell him my story, and we talked for about 15 minutes. It was pretty cool. And then he wasn't a buddy of mine then, but a guy, Kevin Bartini in New York. Oh wow! He put together a benefit show for me with Dave Attell and Rich Voss and Bonnie McFarlane, all these other great New York comics, and I reached out to him and connected with him, and that's how we got working on the documentary and the one-man show with Kevin.
Oh, I got you. Okay, so I had him on the show. He seems like a real caring, sweet guy.
Very cool dude, man. Very cool guy. It said somebody, a mutual friend of his and my wife's, reached out and said, "Hey, there's a guy in New York doing a benefit show for your husband." And so I was like, "Well, who's this guy?" And found him on Facebook and reached out to him. And,
so you didn't even know he was doing it?
No, yeah, it was there was so much stuff going on, and
Wow.
Greg Fitzsimmons reached out, and all these comics, man, it was crazy. It was, I mean, I was, I actually did the math. That first week after it happened, I was averaging 27 friend requests a day on Facebook. It was just,
Oh
uh,
man.
yeah, I couldn't keep my phone charged, man. It was just blowing up.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's an odd way to get Twitter followers, but I guess if whatever works, works. But
Hey, it's my path, man. I guess so. You
Yeah.
gotta take the blows as they come.
and the other thing is, what kind of jail time? What have you followed this guy? What he's doing? Is he still in jail? Is he out of jail?
He got sentenced last December.
Right.
So we made a little deal with him, and we dropped the charge of assault with a deadly weapon, and there was a second charge on the one of my buddies, Simon. He was the first guy who came up and grabbed him, and then my other friend tackled them, and he broke his ankle in the process. And so we dropped the second charge on that, and for him to enter a plea to do, he's doing 10 years in prison right
Oh,
now.
good. All right, good. So we got a fair amount of
So
time.
yeah,
Wow.
and it's 10 years, no parole, no time off for good behavior, and that was part of the plea. So
Oh, that's outstanding. I think that's
yeah, he's a 48-year-old, out of shape, looks like he's 65, and so good luck lasting 10 years in the prison, buddy.
yeah, that guy. No, I think sounds like the type of guy everybody's going to stay away from. To tell you, they're either going to kill him right away, or they're just going to let him go. And his name was.
His real name was Stephen Baldwin.
Wow. And is it any
No
possibility?
relation to
Yeah, was it any
all the
possibility it was actually the real Stephen Baldwin dressed up as this guy? Is that a possibility?
No, that's what the cop, when he came up and asked me, he's like, "Do you know what his real name was?" And I was like, "No, but he thinks he's Jesus." And he goes, "Well, his real name's Stephen Baldwin." I was like, "Get the hell out of here, you dumbass cop! You know that's a fake name, right?" And he's like, "Nope, that's his real name." Wow, what a coincidence!
Yeah.
The Jesus freak too, huh?
And the cop's name was Joe Smith or John Smith,
Yeah.
whatever. Yeah. Oh man, what a wacky story. But 10 years, I feel way better about that. I'm sure you heard this a million times. You look like Ryan Gosling as I'm sitting here talking. Does anybody? They
Yeah.
must tell you that all the time, right?
I've gotten that a lot for many years, and now somebody actually just told me I look like a sexy Edward Norton, and I told him I prefer a ghetto Ryan Gosling. That's
A ghetto Ryan guy. I love it. Yeah,
uh,
that's actually great.
my wife likes that one.
I'm trying to think. You follow the UFC at all, or?
Yeah. Oh yeah. No,
Because I know
I mean,
Joe Rogan's an announcer. I know he's huge into the comedy. It's his passion, and he's always in LA doing things with comics, and he does a great job announcing the UFC.
yeah. The guy who filmed my documentary is a filmmaker, Ruben Rodriguez, and he films a lot for the UFC.
Oh,
He actually worked on a show where he was on the team opposite of you. I asked him if he knew who you were. He was like, "Yeah, he worked." It was on the show down in LA. I'd have to look it up on my phone. I forget the name of it.
Oh, was it it had to be the Ultimate Fighter, probably. I did a reality show
Yeah,
once.
yeah.
Oh wow, yeah, we shot that in Vegas, but the team was from Los Angeles. So that's interesting. Yeah, I
Yeah.
did that with Matt Serra, man. That was a while ago.
Or no, it was my favorite fighter was Anderson Silva, and then until your boy knocked him out.
Man. Oh. Oh my God. No,
But I loved it, man. He was a technician.
Yeah, he was a technician, man. You know,
God.
I just did a thing for MSG for Fox. I compared Anderson Silva to Mike Tyson in the fact that I think people were losing those fights before they even got in there. Remember when Tyson was
Yeah.
on the rip? He was killing everybody. You look in the corner, the guy looked like he was horrified before it even started, you know. And I think Anderson had that same thing. He was knocking people out in such a crazy way that people were intimidated before that fight even started. And I think that's the one thing. Chris is a very strong-minded guy, and I think those are the things I'd even like to pass off to you, is just having that positive mental attitude and stuff. And
I think there is a lot of similarities with fighters and comics in that aspect. That it is a lot of it is mental.
Yeah.
You have to be ready to go. And I'm not always in the mood to be funny. And just like, you're not always in the mood to fight.
Right.
But when that bell rings, you got to be ready to go.
I'm gonna
And when
tell-
I get on stage, I got to be ready to make that crowd laugh.
I'm going to tell you something. Matt Serra, right, does a show with Dana White. He's the president of the UFC.
I saw that.
Did you see when he did the stand-up?
I did. And he was the best one, man. Matt crushed it. I thought it was
And he didn't have any help on that. Because I've heard that routine 1,000 times. I go, please don't go with the Adrian routine again. But I'll tell you what, he told me tougher than fighting. Did you see him hugging, like, who was it? Brian Callen, man? I mean, he said it was worse than fighting. He said the adrenaline rush, and he was shitting in his, you saw Dana shitting in his pants back then.
Just pacing back and forth.
Pacing back and forth. So, it's crazy, but, they say public speaking obviously is the, crazy.
I've never been a fearful guy. I've never been afraid to face anything. I've never even been afraid to die. And so even when I was laying there on stage, I was probably the calmest person in the room.
Yeah, I think you proved it, man. That's so that's wacky. But they say that stand-up comedy that's a tough nut, man, because
I love it. I love the challenge. Even when I bomb, and everybody bombs, and that's the thing you have to know is that you're gonna fail sometimes. And anytime I did, that was always the time I couldn't wait to get back on stage. I've always been a very hyper competitive person. I've always played sports my whole life. And whenever I fail, whenever something goes wrong or I lose, I can't wait to get a rematch. Even when I was playing video games with somebody, I was playing Madden. If I lose, I want a rematch right now. Like, let's go. So I've always had that mentality.
I love it, man. I love it. And there's a lot of people that, when they have a bad night, they want to quit. Just like, I see fighters, I don't want to do this anymore. What? For one loss, I mean, you're going to grow from that, and you're going to learn why you lost. You make yourself better. And, again, it is, when you're a comedian, it's self-examination, man. I don't know, man. It's got to be rough, bombing.
Yeah, but it's you in the crowd. It's you in the crowd. And that's what I love about it, is because I don't have to put on a big show. I don't have to have a band behind me. It's just me and a microphone and a crowd. And it doesn't matter what you look like or what you're wearing or where you're from. Just be funny.
Yeah. And how long you been doing stand-up now?
Only about 5.5 years, so I'm still pretty new at it, man. I still got a long ways to go, but it's definitely as soon as I did it, I felt that rush, man. I got that drug, I got that hit in my veins, and I was like, yep, this is something I love to do, and I just kept at it, man, and kept working and studying and learning and just taking everything I can, reading everything I can, and just anything I could do to get better at it, and just keep doing it, man.
What made you get into comedy?
I've always loved it, and just always loved the art form, and love to make people laugh, and love to write. I've always been a big writer, and I used to be into music. Music's a big passion of mine as well, and I love to rap and freestyle rap. So I have a couple of songs that I do as well.
Oh, so you're an entertainer. That's what you want of some sort. You want to entertain.
Yeah,
that's great.
But then I took the path of I got married and settled down and got a job in advertising and had a family, and I have 3 kids now.
Oh, wow.
They're 8, 6, and 4, and got 2 girls and a boy. Oh, wow. And when my middle one was about 6 months old, I got laid off from my job working at this little marketing firm in Seattle. And I was like, well, I've been wanting to go do stand-up. I'd actually been seriously consider it for a couple of years. Like when my first one was born, that's what kind of inspired me to get into comedy, because kids are so crazy. And so, I started kind of writing some jokes down, and then I got laid off and was like, well, if I don't go do it now, I'll never go do it. So I always had that excuse. I was just too busy. I'm working at 9 to 5 and just always too busy. And so I got laid off, went and did it. Loved it, and just kept at it, and just was doing it for a little bit, as I began, and as I was unemployed, I had to make some sacrifices and some agreements with my wife before I could go out. The kids all had to be to sleep before I went out, and had to have the dishes done.
Good for her, man. That's good. She's keeping you under wraps, which is good. But and what the good thing is, man, the more you get out there, it could lead to other stuff. You get the visibility. Maybe something leads down the road for your music. You don't know. That's the beauty of being in front of a camera, or getting some press time here and there, which is good. Give me some of you. Who do you like as a comedian?
My favorite comedians of all time, I say my biggest influences are probably Dave Chappelle.
Oh wow.
He was the kind of guy maybe you want to really get into it. Louis C.K.
Oh wow. Cool.
Richard Pryor. Eddie Murphy was the first stand-up I ever saw. I saw Raw when I was like 10 years old, and just blew my mind. I mean,
he obviously, he's a Long Island guy. He lives.
Oh yeah. No, I was a big Saturday Night Live guy growing up as a kid, and so those are some of my biggest influences. Chris Rock, You know, a lot of New York guys. I love New York City, man. It's a great city.
Yeah, I tell you, Pryor, even though his first comedy things he did, we went to the movie theater to see. That's got to be somewhere in the '80s. The guy was, I thought, one of the funniest guys I've ever seen, and Richard Pryor.
Oh yeah. No, he's one of the
Back
great,
in the
man.
day, you had nothing, but you had to go to the movie theater to see.
Yeah.
Not that's not the only way, but he did those movies back then. You know, his stand up
Right.
on the movie screen that was phenomenal. I can't even think of the name of them, but that had to be like 80 something. I don't know, but we would laugh our asses off. I mean, I thought he was phenomenal. But
Definitely one of the probably the top three comics of all time. I mean, just pure. You know what I love about comedy is just honesty. And you know, like my story is one that no one else gets to do. You know, no one else has. I got hit in the head with baseball bat jokes.
yeah.
And,
Now, have you gotten approached by any movie people? Maybe want to do
Not yet, not yet.
Yeah, but
But
I'm saying
I did the documentary. So I put out the documentary, my comeback show that I did at the Neptune Theater with Craig Gass, and you know, we did two shows that night, did little 5 minute sets, but it was really great, and you know, it was quite a rush. And we did Inside Edition came out and did a little segment on my comeback show. They followed me around all day and were a pain in the ass, and then we did the documentary, and I actually sent that to Kevin when I was done with it. We put it out last April, so anybody can go view it on YouTube. It's called The Comeback Comic. And when I sent it to Kevin, he was like, "Man, you should do a one-man show." And I was like, "Well, that's a great idea." I'd never thought of that. I'd never even really looked into one-man shows. But because I'm into music as well, and we can do kind of a lot of different things with a one-man show that's not just pure stand-up, that I thought it was a really cool idea, something we can do to kind of take this to the next level. So we'll see what happens after that. But right now, we're just working on the script and then trying to put that together and working with Kevin on that, and just taking all my whole life story.
So you're booking a little bit at this point. At least you got action happening. And
Oh yeah. I do shows around town most. I can't really travel a lot right now because I'm still working full time, and I still got a family, and then you know, just with the recovery, I still have to take a nap every day. I gotta just really pace myself energy wise. Flying can take a lot out of me, just 'cause I get vertigo, and so. You know, I don't do a whole lot of traveling, but I do a lot of shows around here, and the open mic still goes strong. And you know, there's a lot of activity around here. There's a lot of great comics, even like there's ones you've never heard of that are amazing to see live. And so
it's the same thing with the fighting. There's people you never saw that you see him in the gym. You go, "Holy crow, this kid is unbelievable!" But not all those guys get the press, or they get the media behind them type of stuff.
I mean, you don't always need that to have a professional career. And that was one of the first things I noticed with comedy is when I got in, I was like, wow, there's a lot of comedians I've never heard of that make a living at it doing this. So maybe I could do this without, you don't have to be big and famous, but obviously it helps and it makes a lot of money. But, I can take care of my family and provide for them. And
hey, you know what? It's your passion anyway, man. That's what it is more than anything. And
I'll never stop doing it. I can work a full-time job and still do it a couple times a week and be happy.
Yeah, I mean, I always said, find something you would do for free and figure out a way to get paid for it. And I think that's what you're doing. I think
it's hustle, man.
And it's gonna come. It's gonna happen, man. I'll start looking at some of your stuff, but I'm gonna try to get the story out there because I think, I can't stand scumbags like that. I don't know, and I know there had to be mental illness involved, but
a little bit, but he wasn't that crazy.
Yeah, because he was smart enough to sneak in too. Because I was gonna say, how do you even get there? How do you get back there? Nobody spotted this guy, and like when you banned him, other people knew that you were that this.
Yeah, he'd already been banned from the Comedy Underground. He'd already been banned from a couple other clubs. My buddy James, who's a lifelong friend of mine, and he helped me run the show. And so he knew, we all knew that he wasn't allowed, but the way the bar is set up it really is like 1 in a billion chances that this could happen, because in most clubs there's no way a guy's going to sneak on stage with a bat and
That's the other crazy part is, how did he get up there? Well, I mean, it had to be quick too, because
he had 2 steps before anybody could react. Wow. And the way the bar is set up, they had bought the building next to them about a year prior, and they knocked out the walls. Some of the stage is right here, but there's walls knocked out here and walls knocked out here. It had big like garage door kind of openings, and they had pool tables in the game room behind us, and then the restaurant is all out this way. So there was a door and a wall right here, and he walked into that door, and all the lights were off on that side. There's no one else over there, and he was just hiding behind this little wall, sitting at this little table right there.
Wow, so
And
really
you could,
wow.
there was a security camera that you could see him back there, like laughing at the people's jokes. And then he just waited for his opportunity, and I had the mic in my hand, like, all right, give it up for. And he took 2 steps, and then he just swung like that. And then that's what got me here. And I stumbled back.
Wow.
He didn't even break my jaw. Didn't knock my teeth out. He just bruised my jaw. And then he got this over here. And then that's when everybody, came in, because even the crowd's like, what's going on? Is this part of the show?
Yeah, right. See, that's the other part. Nobody is suspecting anything's going to happen. So you're right. They might think, wow, this is maybe this guy thinks this is funny.
Yeah, no, we're all laughing. Everybody's laughing. The last guy had just crushed it. The last comic had just crushed it. So everybody's laughing. And yeah, it just caught everybody off by surprise. And luckily, a couple of my friends were smart enough to react quick enough. Like, they knew it. As soon as they saw him, they're like, oh, yeah, we know that guy. We already knew he's bad news. So yeah, they jumped in and saved my life, man. I got some good friends.
And you think he would have kept going if he?
Oh, sure. Why not? I mean, he was trying to like make an example out of me or whatever he was trying to do, but it was definitely plotted. He said he had black combat gloves on, and he wore a hat like he was trying to disguise, like he was actually going to get away with it or something. I don't know, but he definitely didn't think it all the way through.
Wow, what a psycho! Complete psycho! Wow.
He tried to get off on being mental, but they said no, he was competent to enter a plea, and he even got a second opinion, and then finally the judge was like, no, fuck you.
Wow. And was he employed at the time, out of curiosity?
I think, yeah, at Jiffy Lube.
At Jiffy Lube.
But he was homeless living out of his car, but he was employed at Jiffy Lube.
Oh my God, you're killing me, man. I tell you, it's the whole thing. It's really tragic. But man, I tell you seem great, man. Your spirits are good, and I think you got the champion mindset. I tell you, still Ryan. You're better than Ryan Gosling. Who's better than you? You got Gosling beat, so that's good. But
Oh, man,
I had to keep the haircut. It looked good on me.
look, man. Anytime you're in New York, even if you're performing, I'll get people to come down or stop by the gym. But
Definitely, man.
I'd love to come down in person, man. I mean, you're a real survivor, man. This is no joke, man. Really is no joke. And
it wasn't my first tragedy, man. I grew up in a rough neighborhood. I've been to jail before, so it wasn't.
So you got the right mind to beat this thing, which is good. Not that you already beat it, but it's just good stuff, man. But maybe we could help out down here too. And
Thanks, Ray. I really appreciate it.
no, anytime. It was when they told me about it, I was like, man, it's just. I knew a lot of comics growing up, and you're right. You always had the confrontation. Every so often, there'd be some crazy martial art guy that got insulted. He'd jump on the stage. There was I think a guy, John Mulrooney. I don't know if you ever heard of him. Yeah, Mulrooney was from Brooklyn. He used to do something, but I think he was at Governor's or one of these local places around here, and he said something wrong, something to the wrong guy, and it never escalated to that, though. You know what I mean? Maybe somebody gets slapped or something like that, but taking a bat, man, or stabbing somebody, that you're up in the ante a little bit.
The craziest one I've heard from another comic, and so Amy Schumer, she donated to my GoFundMe page, and she gave me tickets to her show. She came out here to Emerald Queen Casino and gave my wife and I 2 tickets, and so we went to the show, and right after the show, she gave me a little call out right at the end of her set.
Oh, nice.
And these 3 ladies came up to us, and this lady's like, my brother was doing a show at Giggles, which was an old club up here in Seattle, and said that a lady attacked him with her prosthetic leg.
Oh my God.
And I found out a little bit later her brother's Jeff Ross,
Oh, wow.
the roast master.
Oh, wow. Oh,
Yeah, so I guess he got attacked with a prosthetic leg. So
yeah, I could see
not
that.
quite as tragic as my story, but
He's
hilarious.
He's funny too. You're saying he does all those Comedy Central roasts.
Yeah.
He's a funny dude. It's
So that was
funny.
the best one I'd heard from other comics who had told me about their, all comics have a hell gig story, our worst show, worst gig ever. And I think a lot of comics have that mentality of overcoming. We've all had to come over some type of tragedy, or, we've all kind of outcast, and we've all had to kind of had some, kind of obstacle to overcome that led us to become a comic. So we're all kind of resilient type of people, and we're all a very tight-knit crew.
Yeah,
And
that's awesome, man. That's when you need it too.
yeah,
We always say, you need, a good corner man is a guy that hoists you up on his shoulders when you win, and he's a safety net when you lose. And you need that safety net, you really do. And
Definitely.
the better that safety net is, the better it's going to be for you to proceed and go on and do what you want to do. I think that's it, man. You seem great. You seem like nothing ever happened to you. You look great.
I tried to.
You have an awesome disposition. I feel energized just talking to you a little bit, man. It's a good story because you're alive and you came out of it well, and I think justice was served. It seems pretty good. 10 years for a guy like that is not bad, and I don't think he's going to have it easy when he gets out. So I think it's all good, man. Anyway, it was a pleasure, man. Thanks, and I hope to see you soon. Really, again.
Yeah, I'm gonna try to be out to New York pretty soon, man. When this script is done, I'll be coming out there and doing some work, man. So I'll definitely hit you guys up.
Dylan, yeah, website, any upcoming shows, anything you want to plug at all, the documentary, what Bartini's doing, anything. Let it go. You have all the time in the world.
You can always go to DylanAvilaComedy.com. I'm not really good right now about updating my website just because I'm supposed to stay off my computer a little bit. The computer screen's bad for my eyes. I'm really light sensitive. But you can always go see my documentary. It's called The Comeback Comic on YouTube. And I'll be working on a one-man show with my buddy Kevin Bartini. So please stay tuned for that.
Training Day with Ray would like to thank our lead sponsor, the law office of Richard M. Kenny, New York City's toughest personal injury law firm. And guys, let me tell you, man, when injuries strike, you need a great attorney in your corner, and these are the guys you want to call, Richard M. Kenny. And they're going to stick up for your rights, and nobody else will. I mean, you might think you're going to grab just any lawyer, but when you have a personal injury, man, you really have to find the right people, and these guys are the right people. All right, connect with them online at rmkinjurylaw.com. That's rmkinjurylaw.com. New York City's battle-tested trial lawyers, the law offices of Richard M. Kenny.